Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the NENA Second Vice President Candidates Forum. I'm NENA's Communications Director, Chris Nussman, and I'll be handing the reins over to illustrious past President Rob McMullen, your moderator for the hour, in just a second here. But before we get started, a few notes of housekeeping for everybody on the line. We are recording this webinar, so if you missed any part of it, you want to share it with other people who'll be voting in the NENA board elections, you'll be able to do so. We'll send you a copy of the on-demand link as well as a PDF of the slide deck shortly after we conclude the live webinar here today. And also, of course, an informed voter is the best voter. So if you have any questions for our candidates, you can use that Zoom Q&A interface to submit those, and we'll get to them towards the end of the presentation. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Rob.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending our second Vice President Candidate Forum. A couple dates to remember. On March the 15th, our online voting will open. Again, March 15th, online voting will open. April the 14th, the online voting closes. April 14th, online voting closes. On July the 28th, 2021, our new board will be sworn in at the 2021 NENA Conference and Expo in Columbus, Ohio. So those dates need to remember, everybody. We're going to start now with candidate introductions. Then after that, I'll have moderator questions. We'll go back and forth between Daryl and Charles. And after that, if there's time allotted, we'll have audience questions if there are any. So starting in with it, I'm going to start with Charles Cullen, and he will start right now. Go ahead, Charlie.
Well, thank you, Rob and Chris. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Charlie Cullen, and I'm running for the second VP position. In terms of my background, I started in public safety with the Oregon State Police back in 1995 as a dispatcher in Southern Oregon. 2 years later, I was hired by the Palo Alto Police Department, and I have worked in a variety of positions with Palo Alto. I started as a dispatcher, became chief dispatcher, ultimately communications manager, and then technical services director. And I served as technical services director for about 10 years and was then hired last April, just in the middle of the COVID crisis, by the University of California, San Francisco Police Department. A friend of mine is the police chief there and asked me to come over and work for him. So I've been doing that for almost a year now. It's been a great opportunity and a good learning experience for me. You know, I've had a lot of great projects and committees, et cetera, to work on over the course of my career. Everything from the rollout of E911, wireless E911 in the Bay Area. I was a coordinator between the PSAPs, the state, and the vendors back in the early 2000s. I've worked on a regional radio system that we brought up for Santa Clara County. Obviously, numerous CAD refreshes, CPE, all the technology that we deal with in our profession. I've been fortunate enough to serve on some of the national committees for both APCO and NENA. I was the chair of the APCO Homeland Security Committee. We turned out a white paper in fairly short order back in 2008, I believe it was. I also headed up the ProChart committee and have had a number of really great opportunities in this profession, and I'm very fortunate. When you talk about what are the challenges that are facing us going forward here in this hopefully post-COVID era, I think the big one for us, and this is one that I think all dispatchers and all of us in this profession really want to see get done, is the reclassification of dispatchers. The 911 SAVES Act was proposed by Norma Torres from California. We need to get that back on the legislative calendar and get it passed. That is really critical. There have been a number of state initiatives that have gone forward, including AB 1945 here in California, which was signed by the governor last year, which recognizes dispatchers as first responders. And I think that is one of the critical things we need to do. A number of other areas, obviously next generation 911, ANSI accreditation for the I3 standard. There's a number of areas that I'll be happy to talk about as we go forward. But I look forward to further discussion, and I'll turn it back over to Rob.
All right, thank you, Charles. Now, Daryl, go ahead.
Rob, thanks for the opportunity today. Charlie, good to see you from the Midwest to the California coast. Chris Nussman, we appreciate what you've done to set this up and facilitate our abilities to reach out to the membership. So as you can see on your screen, I am currently a support services supervisor for MECOM. We are a consolidated dispatch center. And I currently serve with NENA's National Board as North Central Region Director, which is an absolute blast. And we have three folks that are running for that position. So please make sure you read bios and choose wisely. I still am the co-chair for the Illinois TC Standards and Certification Committee, which has kind of been at a standstill because of obviously our lockdowns and the slow movement in legislation. But I believe Illinois is still poised in a very good position to have a statewide certification there. When it says involved in public safety for more than 20 years, I really take that as a compliment because I'm quickly approaching almost 30 years. I know that's hard to believe since I look like I'm in my 30s, but it's a true statement, 3 decades in public safety. So I think that's really important. And for you folks out there, I think it's important too that you know a little bit about us personally. I've been married to my wife, Patty, since 1997. We've got 3 beautiful kids, 2 daughters and a son. We've been absolutely blessed now with a grandson who's 3 and a granddaughter soon to be 6 months old. Absolutely a joy. Hobbies or habits, I can tell you that I have a really mean pellet smoker and a Blackstone griddle and can cook with the best of them. But beyond that, my career in public safety began in 1993 as a telecommunicator in a 1-seat PSAP. During the 1990s, I started to work part-time for St. Clair County under the tutelage of a very well-known folk in 911. My duties there involved training, ADA compliance, EMD reviews, emergency medical dispatch reviews, and more importantly, I was part of the first successful implementation of wireless phase 2 in Illinois, if not a much broader range. But in 2003, I transitioned to work with St. Clair County full-time, leaving my part-time TC job, and worked as a radio system supervisor. And that started with site acquisitions, contracts with the vendors, contracts with the sites, learning about radio programming, the true workings and goings on. We also dealt with 2 rather large grants, the ICE grant and the PSIP grant, which at that point, we're going back a few years, but at that point was about $10 million. So I was tasked with a pretty heavy load there. In 2012 is when I started my career here in O'Fallon with MECOM as the PSAT manager. I did certify as an ENP. I also served as the Illinois NENA Region 6 Director, where I represented 21 counties. As mentioned, I co-chair the Illinois TC Standards and Certification Committee, which should be noted that that's a joint venture with Illinois APCO, which I'm very proud to say. Formerly, I served on the Regional Conformance Review Committee, the RCRIC, for Region 13 and held the position of Vice Chairman. I know that's a lot of information about me. It's hard to really come in and just try to be the salesman for oneself. But hopefully as we move through this process and you have any questions, I'll be able to address them. And I'm always available by phone or email if necessary. Rob?
Okay, and now it comes to the Q&A section of our webinar this afternoon. We're going to start with you, Charles. What motivated you to run for office?
Well, Rob and all the members out there, I've been involved with NENA at the state and national level for the past 20 years. I served on the board of Cal NENA and was the chapter president. I was a 2-term NENA representative on the state 911 advisory board, and I served 2 years as the Western Regional Director for National NENA. I've worked as a dispatcher, chief dispatcher, call manager, and director in my 25 years in 911. I would like to continue to use my skills and experience to benefit our profession and improve the environment for dispatchers going forward.
Okay, thank you. And Daryl, same question. What motivated you to run for the office?
Well, we've all heard the cliches of I want to help people, or I want to make a difference, or I want to be a part of something big. In my case, it started with mentorship, and many of the fine men and women in my life ascended through their careers, beginning just as I had in a one-seat PSAP. Their dedication to 911, the 911 industry, and teaching and mentoring others, it quickly developed into my passion. Certainly, we could all improve our technical knowledge and experience, but I possess leadership qualities I believe are necessary to move our great organization of 17,000 plus members forward through my mentorship and tutelage.
Okay, thank you. And Daryl, we're going to stay on you. How would you inspire or encourage the growth of the association?
Rob, to try to address every aspect of that is nearly impossible. But I think the most important thing I would do is let the individual know they're more than just an employee in the 911 industry. And NENA as an organization recognizes that. To be part of NENA is to be part of 911, where your voice can be heard, your ideas considered, your relationships with colleagues developed, and to have resources available to you that are virtually endless. And how do we encourage this? We reach out not only to the large public safety associations, but to the smaller PSAPs. Every member counts and every voice counts. And by reaching out, I don't simply mean an email, rather a personal interaction, a telephone call, a letter sent personally by NENA leadership, or other opportunities that we can meet with folks to just really express those values. And in those values, I think one of is a continuation and additional support for the Education Advisory Board, where they can ensure all members are engaged at some level to enhance their knowledge base for 911 and raise their awareness in all areas, from call delivery to dispatch to the infrastructure providing the services. In addition, I think we can also tell them that a full gamut of on-demand or online instructor-led courses will be available. And for the last 12 months, we've all experienced a virtual reality that most of us never fathomed to be a possibility. And as such, we also learned we can reach far more people and members than ever before, again, assisting in their personal development and growth.
Okay. And Charlie, same question. How do you inspire or encourage the growth of the association?
Well, thanks, Rob. I think we need to continue to appeal to the line level folks that are doing the hands-on work, as well as the supervisors and managers. Programs like the Wednesday webinar and the Wellness Continuum are great examples of initiatives that have had a direct benefit and value add for our members. I think online training and participatory webinars that have become much more prevalent during COVID are here to stay. We need to be a leader in those areas. I think it is also important to tell people what we are doing as an organization. NENA's leadership and advocating for first responder status for dispatchers and the legislative outreach we do are critical to our profession. I think we need to toot our horn a little bit more, not just tell the 911 community what a good job we are doing, but to explain why these initiatives are important.
Okay. Charlie, the third question, and we're starting with you. What are the most important issues affecting the membership? And as second VP, what would you like NENA to do to address them?
I think the number one issue is recognition of dispatchers as first responders and acknowledgement of the importance this profession has in the public safety response continuum. The 911 Saves Act, introduced by Norma Torres, was a tremendous morale boost to our members. Now we need to see that that bill is reintroduced and passes. Several states, mine included, have passed legislation recognizing dispatchers as first responders. NENA needs to continue to vigorously support those efforts throughout the country. Next generation 911 is another critical issue for our profession. NG 911 equipment is being installed in my equipment room this week as a result of improved funding and strong leadership by the state 911 office here in California. However, not all states have the resources to fund an NG 911 program. NENA is optimistic that NG 911 Act funding is on the horizon, possibly as part of a larger infrastructure bill this year. The chances for passage are better now than they have been in recent years, but it will still take concerted effort to ensure success. It is important that NENA has a voice in how the funding is allocated and who decides how it is spent. We know from past history that funding dedicated for 911 can be diverted to other uses if the legislation does not include safeguards and the oversight is not committed to the mission. So those are two of the many issues that I think confront us, but the two most important ones that I would address right away.
Thank you. And Daryl, same question. What are the important issues affecting the membership? And as second VP, what would you like NENA to do to address them?
Well, again, there are the most important issues and there are important issues. And as I look at those and try to think about what I'm able to address as a second vice president role and moving through the chairs, the first thing that comes to mind is technological enhancements. And with an ever-changing world in technologies, it's imperative that a collaborative effort continue between the private and public sectors. This starts with our Development Steering Council, better known as the DSC. The individuals in these working groups remove their name tags and roll up their sleeves to help all of us reach the common goal, and that's to provide the best service possible. As your next second vice president, I'll help to ensure leadership and membership in these groups are given the resources necessary to continue their progressions and standard development. The next thing that comes to mind is reclassification. And it's been shared that Representative Torres will again sponsor the 911 Saves Act, and NENA embraces this and should continue to do so. COVID-19 has proven telecommunicators are not only first responders, but truly the first of the first. NENA provides information on how to address our elected officials while providing the same message. Dan Henry, NENA's Regulatory Counsel and Director of Government Affairs, is available to not only NENA staff and board of directors, but you, each member, to assist in your agency's push to state and national reclassification. As your next second vice president and beyond, it would be my mission to be a louder voice in carrying this message. The next that comes to mind is health and wellness. More than ever before, we need to take care of ourselves, our family, and our teammates. NENA provides a wellness continuum portal for its members that focuses on shared resources, best practices, and provides tools and training to promote our health and wellness. As your next second vice president, I would continue to promote this initiative and in many ways have already begun my own journey and better physical health, which in turn promotes better mental health. Join me. And the last thing that I think is in that top list, Rob, is the inclusion of all members at all levels. NENA is known to be a membership and driven and membership focused organization. It takes a village to is resounding to me. In fact, with 17,000 plus members, our village has come together, providing world-class events, industry accepted best practices, and partnerships between private and public entities and companies to provide enhanced levels of service. These are just a few to name of the items that our village can do and has accomplished. We did this by inclusion of everyone. As your next second vice president, I will promote organizational inclusion and will continue to do so throughout my term and progressions in NENA.
Okay, and Daryl, we're going to stay with you with the next question. How would you improve NENA's value to its members?
So I believe I touched on it to some degree with the Education Advisory Board, the EAB. If we continue that and continue to push for those additional resources for online accesses and training classes, I think that's really one of our biggest values to our members. Improving that would only be to add additional training classes, course curriculums, and availabilities of those classes. But the other thing I believe in our current environment is our ability to promote NENA's new social link, which should provide an easier access for those with like occupations, passions, and questions to connect easily and share thoughts and ideas through the Development Steering Council and on operational and functional aspects of 911. and I apologize for the phone ring.
Not a worry. It happens to the best of us. Remember, mute next time, Daryl. Mute next time. And Charlie, we're going to stay on the same question. How do you improve NENA's value to its members?
Well, Daryl, that's never happened to me in a Zoom meeting, but I'll go ahead.
Thanks.
I think I covered some of this in the question about growing the organization. It's important to have programs that are relevant and accessible to our members. Post-COVID environment, that means a robust online training program and engaging webinars on issues and topics that are important to our members. The Wednesday webinars are a great start, and NENA is increasing its online training class portfolio. I think another area NENA could add value is through additional best practices resources. We are a standards and best practices leader on the technical side. I would like to see lessons learned webinars and white papers on everything from remodeling your comm center to NG 911 in layman's language. Those lessons learned could reference the technical documents that speak more to the stages of the project and what expectations should be and what problems to anticipate. Continued development of the wellness continuum is another important program for our profession, which is sedentary by the nature of the job. I also think communicating on a variety of levels, continuing to reach out over social media is important. I would also like to develop some kind of an online program to connect PSAPs from around the country to exchange ideas and network together, almost maybe like a sister cities program that occurs on the municipal level. So those are some of the ideas of how I think we can improve our value and engage our members better.
Thank you, Charlie. And sticking with you on the next question, what do you see as the number one issue facing public safety right now? And what can NENA do to address or better address it?
Well, I think for our profession, recognition of dispatchers as first responders and equal partners in public safety is the number one issue. We are one aspect of public safety. As we're all aware in this past year, for public safety as a whole, the current perception of law enforcement is a critical issue. There have been many proposed reforms, some of them well thought out, potentially beneficial, but many that seem reactionary and ultimately harmful to public safety and the communities we serve. I think the way for NENA to change some of the negative perceptions that are out there is by highlighting the many exceptional deeds that our members do on a daily basis. 911 has an overwhelmingly positive perception throughout the country, despite the fact that most people really don't know what we do. We need to do a better job of promoting our achievements. I believe this would also help us in passing legislation to change the dispatcher classification. One idea that I thought of might be to hire a 911 public information officer responsible for identifying and publicizing the extraordinary efforts that dispatchers put forth in the local, state, and national media. Thank you.
All right, same question to Daryl. What do you see as the number one issue facing public safety right now? And what can NENA do to address or to better address it?
One word: society. The perception of public safety in its entirety is an extreme low. This is demonstrated at times with how our callers react to our questions, as well as their interactions with responders upon their arrival. It's also cause for lower interest in the 911 telecommunicator profession. We're already facing a shortage in qualified interested applicants. So the PSAP level is challenged more than ever to keep staffing levels in a range to prevent burnout and turnover. NENA has taken steps recently to work with those typically outside of the public safety arena in providing public awareness campaigns and advertising. This must continue, and without doubt, those in the 911 industry, public and private, are the unsung heroes, and we should sing their song loud and clear at every opportunity. The other thing that I see, I know you said top, but I have two. The other that I see is next generation, or as I refer to it as the now generation. Although standards continue to be developed as technologies change, we must press for implementation nationally and help move forward any process to ensure now and future call handling equipment. Legislatively, we, NENA, should continue to advocate for Z-access and dispatchable locations and at some level interoperability amongst all PSAPs. Of course, with all of this comes issues of funding, and NENA has and should continue our role as an advocate for legislation inclusive of funding for 911 and next generation expenses.
All right, Daryl, sticking with you, this is the last question of our Q&A. What would you like to identify as 3 of your strengths or core values, and what would you bring to the NENA board and ultimately to the membership?
So, Rob, this was tough for me. I truly am a package. My strengths and my core values define who I am and what I stand for in my personal and professional life. Situationally dependent, I rely more heavily on one strength or value than another. But if we were going to list things, dedication, passion, reliability, honesty, integrity, professionalism, humbleness, and devotion.
Okay. And Charlie, what would you identify as 3 of your strengths or core values, and what would you bring to the NENA board and ultimately to the membership?
Rob, I think my experience at all levels of 911 and in state, municipal, and university departments serves me well. I have managed and been engaged in projects, including the regional rollout of wireless 911 in the Bay Area, the implementation of countywide radio systems, UCAD, CPE, and other technical projects. I have worked on legislation at the state and national levels and served on national committees and the State 911 Advisory Board. Another important strength, I think, is communication. I believe I communicate well and have strived to continue to improve my skills over my career. It's hard to over-communicate, but very easy to fail to communicate. That being said, communication is a two-way street, and it is maybe more important to listen than to talk. If you don't understand issues or problems as they exist within an organization, it's nearly impossible to craft a solution or communicate that solution. As a director, I've had oversight of a large staff. I make an effort to get to know all of the people that work with me and communicate them regularly, both formally in meetings and informally. As the Western Regional Director, I set up regular calls with the Western chapter leaders to discuss issues and concerns and provide updates on NENA national initiatives. My primary core value is remembering who I work for and what my responsibilities are. As a director in an organization, I need to promote the program, philosophy, and values of that organization, but it is equally important that I am an advocate for the people I am responsible for to make sure that their concerns are heard and that they are provided with the resources and environment to do their job. As a NENA board member, this translates to listening to the membership and addressing the issues that are important to the members. In order to do that effectively, I need to understand what those issues are. To that end, in addition to the regular meetings with chapter officers, I would set up quarterly meetings with any NENA members that would like to participate to discuss issues, problems, and concerns and the direction of the organization. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, that concludes our Q&A section for this afternoon. Looking to see if there was any questions from the audience, and there are not. So just to remind everyone some of the important dates for upcoming. March the 15th, online voting opens. April the 14th, the online voting will close, and the new board will be sworn in at the NENA Conference and Expo, July the 28th, 2021, in the wonderful city of Columbus, Ohio. Please look forward and joining us all there and seeing who the new board members are. It's been a pleasure this afternoon, guys, hosting this, and I've had a great time. So without saying anything else, I'm going to turn this back over to our Director of Communication, Chris Nussman.
Cool. Thank you, Rob. Thanks for moderating. Daryl and Charlie, thank you so much for participating and running for the board. We really appreciate you, as well as all of the candidates, current, present, and past, and future, who are committed to moving the association forward. So thank you all very much. Thank you all for attending today. As I mentioned at the top of the webinar, we'll be providing an on-demand link for you to watch again or share with other voters shortly after the presentation here concludes. So stay tuned for that. And we look forward to seeing you on a future webinar soon, as well as at our annual conference and expo this July in Columbus. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Please make sure you vote. Charlie, take care.
Take care, Daryl.